first podcast is going to be political. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well,
Do you want me to bring it? Is the
no,
camera okay?
it's perfect. Camera's perfect. You're perfect. And the topic is also perfect, even though it is political and we are not political people.
We have no idea what we're talking
We have
about.
no idea what we're talking about, but we are going to talk about it anyway because someone may learn something. you, I might. I'll probably learn more than. I'll learn more than everyone else. Actually, I've done a bit of research, and
You've done more research than I have,
well, who knows?
David.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it will be a good conversation nonetheless. All right. So, welcoming everybody to I think the fourth. This is the fourth podcast. Is it?
Yeah.
Ashley's done 3. You're lucky number 4. No one wants to come on the podcast because they think like I talk or Ashley and I talk about like really smart stuff. But I'm going to prove to them today that we can talk about really dumb stuff. Now, actually, no, you know what? Before we continue, I need to acknowledge that, look, war is ugly. There's a lot of human sacrifices, a
Yeah.
lot of horrible atrocities that happen. So even though we may laugh at silly stuff throughout today's podcast, I don't want people to be upset or offended at the fact that we're making light of a serious topic. Okay, especially because you, Rita, you have, your parents are refugees, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you have, a connection to what may potentially happen with Ukrainians.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to say a bit about, your parents and that connection with the refugees and potentially what will happen in Ukraine?
Okay, so I I never lived through a war, but both of my parents have, and I grew up hearing the horrors of the war, just horrible stories. My dad fought in the I think it was Iraq and Kuwait war. Almost lost his life a few times.
What
My
were the
mum was
years?
caught up in a. I wouldn't. Hold on. If I do remember, I think it was the 80s.
Okay.
The 80s. My mum was caught up in a civil war in Lebanon in the 70s, and I think spent majority of her teenagehood in bomb shelters,
Wow.
and pretty much just coming out just to get food and get back in there. I was actually watching a YouTube video. No, it was a TikTok video, and I seen majority of the Ukrainians are currently staying in bomb shelters,
Yeah.
and they only come out once a day for just the occasional grocery shopping and
Yeah.
just the staples that they need to survive. And it's atrocious what's happening there. It's I want to say we are privileged to be in this country, to be away from that, but it's saddening that there's not much we could do about it. Just
Yeah.
kind of
It's so
watch it all pan
weird.
out on the beaches.
It's so weird that it happened to your parents' generation and then my parents' generation, but
Yeah.
like we feel a bit removed from it because it's our
Mm,
parents. But then right
mm,
now, people are going through the same thing. Like refugees are pretty much being made as we speak. People
yeah.
are losing homes, losing lives, losing, everything that they've lived for up until this point. So it's this weird thing that you think, oh, it happened during the 70s and 80s. It doesn't happen anymore, but no, look, it's happening now. So yeah, look, we acknowledge that it's pretty poor what's happening at the moment. Now, in saying that, when this whole Russia and Ukraine thing happened, did you know much about it? Because I can say that I did not know anything about that part of the world.
Okay, so living with two woggy parents who've gone through war, been through war,
Mm,
you tend to hear political views here and there coming out. I didn't really know much about what was happening until I looked into it.
yep.
And it's pretty much the fact that Mr. Putin feels threatened by the Ukrainians,
Yeah.
especially after um, hearing that there was a possibility they might join the NATO treaty,
Yep.
which I think is what I think 28 countries, European countries, are part of that treaty. That's also including America. So he felt threatened by that. And obviously, being one of the most powerful people in the world, decided to invade Ukraine and try to prevent that from happening. Now, I don't know why he would do such a thing. I don't know what would possess this bloke to do that.
Well, let
I
me
mean,
enlighten you. Today, you're actually going to learn
yeah,
something. But yeah, you.
yeah,
So so the mainstream media feeds us one narrative, right? One version of events, and there is a bias there because obviously we live in the Western world. But being the beautiful internet era that we have, we get all sides of the story. And what I watched that I thought was really interesting was what Putin said at the UN. I think it was at the UN when he was asked something about Ukraine.
Was that before the invasion?
Yeah, that was before. I think it was like years ago even. He mentioned this, right? And I want to share it with you, and hopefully you can watch it as well. So let me see if this works.
Ракеты рядом с границами Соединенных Штатов. Нет. Это же Соединенные Штаты своими ракетами пришли к нашему дому.
So, you know what? It's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you about the video. Okay? So he's pretty much saying that he sees Ukraine as a threat because he doesn't want Ukraine to join NATO. If Ukraine joins NATO, there's this thing called, what's it called? The Article 5 of the NATO treaty. Okay? Do you know about the Article 5?
No, don't. Enlighten me. Okay. Enlighten me.
So Article 5 says that any NATO ally that gets attacked by another enemy, like by another state, all of NATO will have to join forces to protect that ally that's been harmed.
Yeah.
Right? So that means if Ukraine joined NATO and then Russia tried to take part of Ukraine, then all of Europe, or part of Europe and the North America, will pretty much have to fight Russia. And he's saying, well, if that happened, then trust me, no one's going to win, right? That's like his kind of scary threat, saying that, if Ukraine joined NATO and we have to fight you guys, trust me, there's going to be a nuclear war, right? And
I trust him.
I trust him too, man. He's a scary dude. He fights bears. Have you seen those videos where he fights bears naked? Not naked, topless.
Naked.
He's riding horses, topless. This guy's a beast. But you know what? You might appreciate this. It gets really complex. And I have to do a shout out to what's this channel called? Real Life Law. And this is the video I was talking about when I said that I was like doing some sneaky research. This video sums it up so well. Okay? Now let me enlighten you further. All right, Rita? So back in 2012, they found a lot of natural gas and oil reserves around Ukraine, all right? Around the Crimean Peninsula.
Yeah.
Right? They found heaps of reserves. And Russia, its biggest import to the rest of Europe is oil and natural gas, okay?
Yeah.
It's like 35% of their gross domestic produce is oil and gas. They export it to all of Europe. Now, all of a sudden, Ukraine has a huge reserve that's found around their area. So he's scared that, one, Russia's going to lose their supremacy within the oil and gas, industry to Ukraine. And not only that, he feels that if Ukraine all of a sudden becomes a big enough competition to Russia in relation to gas and oil, then that's an easy way for Ukraine to be accepted into NATO. Right? Okay. And geographically, Russia is surrounded by NATO as it is. Right? But if he loses Ukraine to NATO, that further pushes NATO's ability to kind of encroach into Russian territory. So that's why, like, this video is talking about there's that fear.
So, like the moment Ukraine joins NATO, that's Russian borders surrounded by NATO.
Yeah.
And I think the general idea behind this conflict between the two is fighting over the land, right? So that would be
and resources,
Crimean and resources of that land.
Yeah, it's always about resources, isn't it? Like, you know,
It's
America
always,
invading Iraq for oil. Again, this is natural gas and oil. Like, it's always resources. And this is just you kill two birds with one stone. You stop Ukraine from, joining NATO, and by taking Crimea, which he did in, I think, 2014, he's taken part of the offshore natural gas reserves that they found.
Yeah. Now, do you think that his current decision, the conflict that's happening, is going to stop Ukraine from joining NATO?
Let me ask you this. What do you think the outcome of this will be?
Okay, there's two scenarios. So actually there may be, I'll say 3 scenarios.
Okay.
So if Ukraine gets desperate and joins NATO,
yes,
that's World War III right there. You have 28 countries under, was it, you said Chapter 5? Yep. 28 countries, Ukraine, 29 countries fighting Russia.
Yep.
That's one scenario.
But that's not going to happen, though.
But we don't know. Or Russia would attack Ukraine and attack the borders around Ukraine that are part of NATO, and that could cause NATO, the 28 countries, to defend. I think Poland will be around near Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, I think Poland's in NATO,
part
right?
Of NATO.
Yeah.
If Vlad pushes old maid Vlad pushes the boundaries of Ukraine and borders the NATO nations, I think that's also possible. Potential World War III happening there.
Oh
and
God, your situations are pretty bad.
Australia's just going to get dragged down. It's just the domino effect.
This is a very pessimistic view, Rita.
But no, that's worst case scenarios.
Okay. Well, what do you think realistic will happen?
I don't think World War III will happen.
Me neither.
But I don't see another way out of this conflict.
Yeah. I do.
What way?
Ukraine just gets taken over by Russia.
Yeah, but I don't think Russia's going to take over Ukraine.
Well,
Ukrainians are not going to give up on their land.
Yeah, but I mean,
you're trying to tell me that Ukraine's no longer going to be a country in the future.
It'll be absorbed by Russia. It'll be Russian territory. It's just like Crimea. Crimea belonged to Ukraine. It was literally part of Ukraine, and then Russians annexed it and took it back in 2014, and now it's Russian. It's Russian owned.
Crimea.
Yeah, the Crimea Peninsula.
I don't think. I mean, I hope that's a possible outcome. I would rather that over a world war.
Sure. I'm with you.
But I don't think Ukraine's going to give up on their land that easy. And as long as NATO is involved, there's talks that Ukraine might join NATO.
Yeah, but I don't think that will happen because
I'm going to stop that decision.
Well, I don't think that will happen because I don't think NATO's all of a sudden just going to say, "Hey, Ukraine, you're in the middle of a war. You're being attacked. Why don't you join us?"
You out.
Yeah, why don't you just join us so we're forced to enact Article 5? Like, I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, the sad part is I think Ukraine is just going to lose a portion of their land or be absorbed by it. I really don't know. But let me ask you this. Do you blame Putin for the actions that he's taking? Like, look, war and atrocities aside, human life aside, look, we understand. Yeah. But geopolitically,
he's doing what he needs to do to protect his land.
Yeah.
if you feel threatened, you will do anything you can to protect your home, protect your people. Would you
Yes.
not? And
Yes.
I think as a powerful leader, there might be other ways to go about in doing so. He chose the path of war
Yeah.
and destruction.
Yeah.
It's a bit exaggerated, but he is doing whatever he can to protect Russia. I don't blame him for trying to protect his land, but what I blame him for is the actions that he's doing.
Yeah. Or you mean how he's going about doing
And
it?
how he's going about doing it. I mean, he needs to understand. He needs, lad, if you're listening, you need to understand that.
Listen up, lad. Reader's speaking.
Listen, Mr. Putin. All right. As much as he's trying to protect Russia, the Ukrainian president is trying to protect Ukraine as well.
Yes.
And it's not going to end well for one of the two.
Yes. And look, and I agree with you. It's like he's forced into this situation in a way geopolitically because he's surrounded by enemies. He's surrounded by, people that believe in Western ideals, values, NATO. He has NATO has installed military bases all around, his country, right? And he's fearful. He's a proud man. Russians are very proud people, I'm sure. They're fearful that one day they will lose their territory and become westernized. And he doesn't want that. And the fact is, the Prime Minister of Ukraine said one of his biggest goals while in power is to reclaim Crimea that was lost in 2014, right? Because, again, resources. They know that there's apparently 2 trillion metric tons of natural gas reserves within the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula, right? If Ukraine had kept Crimea, they would have become a powerhouse when it comes to natural gas exports, right? Russia didn't want them to be. So, dear mate Putin took Crimea, and now Ukraine was like, no, that's bullshit. We need to take it back. So now they're fighting over Crimea, and like I said, it serves 2 purposes. If he takes Ukraine, then Ukraine will never be able to join NATO, right?
Yeah, but where does it stop? See, that's the thing. Like, in theory, your borders will always exist, right? Russia's expanding, took over Crimea, is planning on taking over Ukraine because they feel threatened, pretty much feeling trapped, right?
Yeah.
But even when you do take over Ukraine, Russia absorbs Ukraine.
Yep.
That still leaves you surrounded by NATO nations. Where does this end?
You know what was interesting?
It's a gateway to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, there was this interesting video that said, well, depending on what you think, but it said Putin just doesn't want to feel threatened. If Ukraine just stayed neutral forever, then I don't think. Well, this is really stupid, right? Like, what do we know? What? But people were arguing people were arguing that if Ukraine just stayed neutral and just didn't have any intentions of joining NATO, then Putin would have left them alone, right? I think that's a bit naive to believe that, but that's one side of the arguments. Like, Ukraine, just don't join NATO and you'd be fine.
But I don't think Ukraine was ever neutral. I think that Russia and Vladimir's always seen Ukraine as a threat, regardless of whether they were joining NATO or not.
Threat how? They're so small.
Well, yeah, but they fought over Crimea.
Yeah, they lost it.
They lost it. He feels threatened now. So if Ukraine doesn't join NATO, there's still surrounding countries that are NATO nations. The threat is always going to be around Putin. The threat is always going to be around Russia.
Well,
he plans on just eradicating NATO and all their NATO nations.
So this is the scary part, right? This is the World War III scary scenario. If, God forbid, like Ukraine, yeah, knock on wood, 2 years down the track, Ukraine decides to join NATO. NATO accepts them into the fold. And then Ukraine's just like, you know what? I think we want Crimea back. And guess what? We have all of NATO backing us now. Right? I've joined NATO. NATO's going to help me get Crimea back. Russia's like, nah, forget it. We're going to have a war. And Putin already said, if we have a war with NATO, he's already said this, there's going to be no winners. Right? He's going to press the red button and we're going back to the Stone Age. That's the scary part. We're going to be using sticks and stones. Forget about Zoom calls and talking on the internet. We'll be watching, I don't know, we'll be eating through straws and just, yeah, it'll be horrible. But that is the scary part. That's really scary, right?
So maybe that's the threat Putin has, is that Ukraine joins NATO, NATO try to help Ukraine, assist Ukraine in taking back Crimea.
Yeah. Did you see the recent news article that Australia's like putting more money into their defense now? We're buying. I don't know what we're going to do.
I'm not.
I'm
just thinking of that conversation we had.
What did we lose to?
Emus.
We lost to emus. No. What was that?
2 wars.
We lost.
We fought them heroically. 2 wars to emus back in the 30s. All right? We've come a long way since then.
Okay, so Australians, look, not to shit on Australia's military, but yeah, apparently we lost 2 wars to a bunch of emus. So,
my biggest worry is that the world was so just focused on COVID, now focused on the Russian and Ukrainian conflict, but they forgot to kind of watch China. Who's watching China? What is China doing at this time?
Do you think they're not though?
I think they are not watching China.
Oh man, I reckon they're watching.
They're too distracted. I feel like COVID and the conflict that's happening between Russia and Ukraine is a distraction.
Yeah.
And China's going to attack.
Do you know much about the Chinese politics and that situation in the Asia Pacific region? Do you know much about that?
No. Enlighten, please tell me you do.
Yeah, I do, naturally, because I'm Asian, so I should know all Asian stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the narrative is that China obviously wants to take back Taiwan. So if they're going to do anything, again, man, humans are so petty. It's land resources, whatever, power. But yeah, they want to take back Taiwan, and if they make any military move, it would be to bring Taiwan back into the fold, and that's when it gets scary. But you know what? The reality is China's doing stuff already anyway. They've been building man-made islands since, the last decade, right? They're pumping sand.
China's probably half of the world without us knowing.
Well, the thing is, China's smart about it.
Yeah.
Right?
They do it discreetly.
And they're doing it in the way that everyone approves of, which is giving governments and lending money, right? Getting countries into debt so they can literally say to Fiji, I will lend you all this money and all we want to do is build a port in one of your cities, right? A strategic port in one of your cities. And because certain countries are so in debt to China, they're like, yeah, okay, fine. And not to mention, like, who knows what China owns in Australia?
Owns it. Yeah. A big part.
They probably own the electricity, the water, the dairy industry.
Owned by China?
Hey?
TikTok?
Yeah, it is.
TikTok is Chinese. I'm pretty sure WhatsApp is too, isn't it?
Oh, no, I think WhatsApp is Google and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. But yeah.
But yeah, no, China does own a lot of things. And my biggest worry is what role does China play in all of this conflict? Because from what we know, China and Russia are allies.
Yeah.
with Iran as well. I think it was China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea,
Yeah, you love North
if
Korea.
I'm not mistaken.
No, sorry, you love Korean chicken, but you don't like North Korea.
No, I like South Korean chicken.
I want to know what North Korean chicken tastes like. I don't think they have chicken.
I don't think they have chicken.
Yeah, man, they're struggling to keep people alive, let alone chicken.
They only eat vegetables over there.
Yeah, how depressing is it? And not to, like, they probably have more nuclear warheads than freaking people. It's great. It's so sad.
They do.
You know, they've literally got a warhead for every man, woman, and child over there.
It's scary.
It is, eh? It's
I mean,
so.
it's like, but think about it. Like, if there was a World War III and the NATO countries try to back up Ukraine, who's going to back up Russia? The most powerful countries in the world. So what happens to the Australian defense?
We're going to send out our emus, man. What are you talking about? We've got kangaroos that throw boomerangs. I don't know what we. I don't know what our strength is. To be honest, I don't know what our strength is.
I wouldn't know.
Maybe like
recently
satellites. I don't know. I have no idea.
How much money did Scott Morrison's ScoMo spend on military equipment?
Not much. Not. I mean, compared to other countries' budgets, we wasted all ours on COVID payments.
How many Defence Force members do we have?
I have no idea. We need Ashley in this conversation so you can tell her.
I think it was like, hold on, it was around like, if I'm not mistaken, 80,000.
Is that it?
That's not a lot. That sounds a lot. It was around 80,000, and I'm pretty sure Russia was around. China was about over 1 million.
Yeah, I think the Russian Ukraine thing. Russia sent like 200,000 alone to the borders to fight this Ukrainian thing. Like, we're such.
Hold on, I really want to look that up.
Look into it. Yeah, but I think we're in a very scary situation. We just need allies. God forbid anything.
We do
happens.
have allies. And this treaty with America.
But we're so isolated. We're in the middle of nowhere. We need our Kiwi brothers.
Australia is fake, and everyone living in Australia are actors. Did you know that?
Who told you that?
It's a conspiracy theory that Australia doesn't exist and we're all actors. How much do you get paid?
What do you mean?
For this gig?
Well,
it's a conspiracy theory.
It doesn't exist. What do you mean? It doesn't exist.
Australia is fake. Yeah.
Why? Because it's too good? It's too good to be true?
It is. So we shouldn't be partaking in any war. How many defense members?
Yeah, we already poked the bear with China. We already accused them of like the COVID stuff.
Oh my God. As of 31st of December 2019, there were 59,000 Australian Defence Force members and 38,000 in the reserves.
Would you join, like...
That wouldn't even populate Fairfield City Council.
What? What Fairfield City Council? What are you talking about? What is this? What information are you getting from? You go on Fairfield Local News? I don't know where you're getting your data, man. But anyway, needless to say, we would stand no chance. That much I'm sure of.
Definitely won't stand a chance. But I don't think we'll play a huge role in the World War if it were to happen. I don't think we're headed toward the World War III. That is the worst case scenario, and even if it does head there, I don't think Australia will.
We're dead, man.
No, we're not dead. No. We'll send our defense over there. They'll try to help out, but I don't think we'll get to a stage where we have to go through conscription.
Oh, imagine we did. Would you?
America's preparing for that.
How would you reckon you'd go in war?
Who said I'm going to war?
Well, if you had to be conscripted.
Why would I be conscripted?
Because you just had to, man. This is wartime.
That is not an option for me.
No.
I choose life over death.
You have to.
What happens if you don't go to if you don't get conscripted? Do you go to jail? Do you
Uh,
have to serve a sentence?
I think that's what happened to Muhammad Ali.
Okay, how long is it?
I don't know. But
5
isn't that
years?
silly? That's still so silly. Hey, imagine you had to go to jail. It's
I'll
like,
go to
what?
jail.
It's a war, and you're sending me to jail? Like, it doesn't make sense.
I'll go to jail. 5 years in jail, that's fine.
Were you were you the one that showed me that TikTok with that gay guy? How he was it was like he was acting out. What? Sending him to war? Looking at his nails and whatnot. I would not survive. I would not survive war.
We wouldn't survive the war. I'm too nice to shoot anyone. Hold a gun even.
Yeah. I wouldn't make it past my doorstep, to be honest. I'd hold the gun and end up shooting myself by accident. Like, it just... So it'd be so tragic. But yeah.
That's something I would do too. I don't know. I am going to cook and clean. I don't fight wars.
But you know what? If we had to be conscripted, this would be the first war where there'd be like so many women personnel, army personnel. Right?
And also a lot of refugees fighting for Australia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
We're gonna see an influx of I think we're gonna see an influx of Ukrainian refugees into Europe now.
I think they're already starting to see that.
Yeah.
They're starting to seek
asylum.
Shelter elsewhere. I'm looking into the NATO treaty.
Yeah.
You said it was Chapter 5, didn't you?
Yeah, Article 5. I think
Article 5.
Yeah, I wrote it down somewhere. It commits each member state to consider an armed attack against one member state in Europe or North America to be an armed attack against all states, and will take the actions it deems necessary to assist the allied who is attacked. So
you know how you mentioned an influx of refugees?
Yeah.
It says it right here that Poland, Romania, Moldova, and Slovakia are dealing with a dramatic influx of refugees, and the European Union has warned that at least 5 million more could be displaced. Wow. And the war hasn't even begun yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is really saddening.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, this is taking a huge impact on the Russian currency as well. I think the Russian ruble went down to like 1 cent or something.
Something about Switzerland banks freezing Russian assets.
Yeah, I think they shut them out of the banking system.
Sorry?
I think they shut them out of the banking system.
Yeah, and Switzerland's supposed to be a neutral country, and they've been neutral for 500 years.
Oh.
They don't get involved in things like that, but they did this time.
Yeah.
500 years later, they've frozen Vladimir's money.
Yeah. It's a bit scary how he pretty much just has put himself there as leader for life, and anyone that goes up against him, he just kinds of poisons and kills, right? Apparently.
Yeah. It's just...
Not to mention old mate Jinping as well. Does the same.
I love Jinping.
You know what? They said like Bill Clinton has a pretty decent body count as well.
What?
Yeah, the conspiracy theory is the Clintons. Like, anyone that they don't like, they off as well.
Hold on. My question is, what's Jinping's body count?
Jinping.
Jinping.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's huge. Let's be honest.
Why? Oh, yeah. He coerces them.
Man, in China, there was that one thing where, like, capital punishment, right? If you were sentenced to death by firing squad, they would literally send your family the bill for the bullet that they used to kill you. I'm serious. That's not a joke.
With taxes?
I don't know what it is. I think you just get like an invoice. Like they
But that's
literally.
absurd. Why would they do that?
What do you mean?
You
They're
didn't
a totalitarian government.
totalitarian.
They're literally like, yeah, if we have to kill your son or daughter, you're paying for it. Man, if that's not like a stab to the heart, I don't know what is.
I did not know that. Why don't I know this information? Why don't people... Hi, I'm Chinese. By the way,
Yeah. But see, imagine the shit that you don't know that happens in North Korea then. Like, imagine the stuff we don't know.
you know what? I always wanted to travel to South Korea. Everyone knows that. But I also want to see North Korea.
See? As in go there?
Travel to North Korea. It's not an option. We all know that.
Apparently it is, though.
Know.
No, it is.
What do
Some
you
people have
mean?
gone. It's just
I
not
thought it
very
was like
pleasant.
diplomats. I thought it was diplomats and businessmen that are allowed to enter North Korea.
No, I hear about
You have
like
to have genuine reasons.
I hear students go. No. Like normal people can apparently go, but one, it's hard to get approval, but you can get approval if you're just a normal person, a normie. And then not only that, when you do go, you're just constantly followed. So it's not a fun holiday.
Why? How? By who?
By the government, man. They don't want you like snooping around.
Do you know anyone who's been to North Korea?
No, but I've watched documentaries on YouTube where they.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, it does.
They're all just actors.
No, they put on like Australians. They put on a song and dance, just for the TV crew, but in reality, apparently, it's really sad.
Well, I did hear that when Kim's marching, everyone who's like the civilians have to start crying and mourning.
Yeah. Oh,
when
really?
He walks past them. Yeah.
Oh.
They have to cry. They need to be in tears.
And if they don't, they get killed or something.
Yeah, probably. That's definitely an option. And their family are paying for the bullets, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. So this is the differences in certain governments. It's scary. It's scary what's happening on the other side of the world as we sit here enjoying the luxuries of our home.
But it's 2022. How are there still countries like that out there?
Well, they choose to be.
They're powerful men like that out there who've got so much control over the people.
Yeah. Well, exactly. If you think about how much control they have over the people, isn't it scary? Like, how do you get that much control over your people? You've literally got millions of people that are forced to cry when you walk by. Like, how scary does your government have to be in order to do that to people?
Yeah, what are they threatening them with?
Well, I watched this Joe Rogan podcast, and the girl that escaped North Korea was literally like, they don't just like kill you, they'll go after your whole family and generations before. They will literally wipe your lineage completely.
And the people haven't thought of rebelling. I know this might sound ignorant, but these are genuine questions that I have that I would ask North Koreans.
Yeah. Well, some do. Some escape, right?
Population? What's their population?
Yeah, but think of it this way. When you grow up indoctrinated, right, all you've known from a child is, this is our God. Kim Jong-un is our God. When you see your God, you need to revere him, you need to bow down to him, you need to cry and show how much you love him. If that's what you're taught from a baby, that's all you know. They don't have TV, internet, and all that stuff.
They do, but it's all censored.
Well, yeah, it's probably like China. They have the great Firewall of China.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. It's the Firewall.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was called the Great Firewall of China.
Yeah, well, they joke saying, it's the Great Firewall of China.
And how do you think South Korea's gotten away with it? Why hasn't North Korea tried to expand? Why hasn't North Korea seen South Korea as a threat the way Russia's seeing North Korea as a threat?
Because South Korea has allies, strong allies.
What are South Korea's allies? Who are South Korea's allies?
I don't know. Probably the Western nations. Look,
but are they as powerful as Russia?
We need Samsung. All right, we need Samsung to exist.
I need my Hyundai, okay?
Yeah, that's right. We need our Hyundais. We need our Samsung phones. We cannot let South Korea go down. But yeah, I mean, it's all about world wars. We want to avoid that at all cost.
We do. What are your ideas? Do you think the world, genuinely speaking, do you think World War III will happen?
Not anytime soon. I hope not in my lifetime and not in my child's lifetime. That's why I worry.
I hope. See, I never thought a pandemic was going to happen in my lifetime. But we just went through a pandemic.
Yeah.
We don't know what to expect.
At one point, when I was younger, I thought I would not want kids because I was afraid to bring them up in a world where they could potentially live through a world war. I couldn't do that to them.
Yeah.
But guess what, boys?
Get ready for conscription, boys.
That's right. Hold your guns correctly.
Who wants to play Call of Duty live?
They'll have They'll have more than enough practice on Call of Duty to be super soldiers. But yeah, that was the scary part. That was a real fear of mine. I don't know. In a way, it probably is still a fear.
There'll always be a fear because you've got the children, you've got the responsibility, and you'll worry about it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Ukrainians, there's little babies now that are going through that shit. It's horrible to think about.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible to think that. Honestly, hearing what my parents have gone through, I'm not saying that I've had the best time as a refugee or I had the best time back in Lebanon, but we went through hardships as well, but it wasn't the war. My parents went through the war. I didn't go through the war myself. But I thought it ended when we moved here. When we came to Australia as refugees, we were given a second chance. The kids, us, me and my brother were given a second chance in life. And we've come here, we've lived this long just to be, hit with COVID, which is fine. Pandemics happen here and there, but another world war, I thought humanity has evolved way past a war, way past violence. But there are still just greedy people out there who just want more of what they already have.
Yeah. Yeah. And like
that's
you said,
something we can never change about us.
And like you said, the after effects of war, like you said that even though you didn't experience it directly, your parents experienced it, but you still had to live through the aftermath of it, right?
Yeah,
it was still bad enough.
It's generational trauma.
That's right.
It's generational trauma.
Yep. And you had to escape it. Even having not directly been impacted by it, you still had to escape it as a child.
Yeah. And you too, right? We still have that fear embedded in us. And
it's sad. I mean, our parents will always talk about it. You talked about the trauma, and for the Asian or Vietnamese men that suffered through the trauma of the war, they came to Australia and they didn't know how to assimilate. They didn't know how to adapt. They obviously couldn't speak the language. They lost their identity, cultural identity, and a lot of them turned to alcohol and were just very bad domestic violence perpetrators. That's how their trauma manifested in the Vietnamese history within Australia. That trauma, that's how it manifested. How do you think it manifested for the Lebanese people and all that? How do you think it comes across?
I would say Middle Eastern people.
Yeah, Middle Eastern.
Same. Domestic violence, aggression, just violence in general.
Yeah.
They've come here. There's a lot of gang-related, violence that happens. And that's, I think, I would say it's an inappropriate coping mechanism. It's just the way that they've, they've lived a life like this in the past. They've gone through that trauma. And that's, I think, it's that violence, the war, it was out of their hand. They couldn't do anything about it. The moment they've come here, they had more control on their life, but all they knew and all they were comfortable with was violence.
Yeah.
So they preyed on the weak because they once were weak. And it pretty much ended up through the same cycle: domestic violence, just violence and aggression in general.
Alcohol's not a big thing though, right?
Pardon?
Is alcohol a big thing?
Well, it just depends. If you're even, because there's, Islam is a main religion in the Middle East, the ones who aren't Muslim have alcohol problems.
Yeah, because predominantly for the Vietnamese
background.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Because predominantly for the Vietnamese, it's all alcohol, like very prevalent.
Yeah, and I think it is in Asian cultures. Like they love their alcohol, right?
But like you mentioned, it's like a maladaptive coping mechanism. It's just how they deal with their trauma.
Yeah, and so domestic violence in the Middle East and here in like Middle Eastern men here in Australia is very high.
Yeah,
it is, and I think one is because of the lack of knowledge they have. A lot of what we learned today is a lot of people don't even know that. A lot of men don't know that hitting your wife is wrong. Hitting your wife is illegal, and then when they find out, things do change. But overall speaking, violence is their go-to because that's what they're familiar with.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of prevalent in like the Eastern European countries too. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of hardcore people come out of Russia and Eastern Europe and, those countries. So I imagine refugees that come out of Ukraine, again, very hardened men, very hardened men that have been through a lot of trauma, been through the pain of war, lost, family members and loved ones, and they come out as refugees to these European countries and they, again, struggle to adapt. And this cycle, it just continues over and over again. Yeah. Like you said, 2022, and we still can't shake it.
Trauma. Yeah, it's the generational trauma. And you can always trace violence back to a traumatic experience. All it takes is one person to break that cycle. But Vladimir is not breaking the cycle anytime soon.
Yeah. You know what? I'm surprised that no one's tried to, off him.
I thought they had.
I don't know, man. This guy, I'm surprised that no one's attempted anything on this guy. Or maybe he's just that good.
Assassination attempts.
Well, he's ex-KGB, so he probably knows what to look out for.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember that one incident where the Russian Russian ambassador was assassinated in Turkey?
No.
That was a few years back. Live, he was assassinated on live television.
Oh, really? Like how? Shot?
Yeah. Pretty much by a bodyguard. A Turkish bodyguard.
And what did the
Russians
do?
There was conflict happening between the Russian and between Russia and Turkey.
Oh.
Russia didn't do anything about it.
Why? They killed one of their ambassadors.
He didn't do anything about it.
Oh, maybe he didn't like him anyway.
I feel like he's all talk. Huh? Vlad is just all talk.
What do you mean he's all talk? He's literally invading a country as we speak. Have you not seen him? I told you.
I think he preys on the weak. He wouldn't dare do that to a powerful country.
Tell that to the bear that he tried to wrestle. That bear did not seem weak.
While he was naked, remember?
There's so many badass stories about Putin. Like, they say he walks funny, right? He walks funny and he walks with his left hand. Yeah, and there's all these badass theories, oh yeah, that's because he's always walking with a Glock and he comes equipped. He's ex-KGB man. He's a badass. He's always prepared to shoot you when he needs to. Do you reckon he's really that badass?
I think so. I think, to me, I see him as the James Bond of leaders.
I thought you were going to say the villain, man. You made him sound like the hero. You know what? It's so funny though. It's actually really funny because they're just like, they're two superpowers, right? They're like Russian and America, and they put him next to Biden. They're just like, oh my god.
Who do you reckon will win?
Yeah, imagine those two. There was this comedian that said like, if only world wars were like resolved by having the two leaders fight each other, that's all we want. Just the two leaders that having a biff, just fight each other, and whoever comes out just wins that argument.
And that's another thing I hate about wars is the leaders create the wars. They tell the nation what to do.
Yeah.
They have people fighting their own wars. If the leaders had to fight their own wars, their own battles themselves, we would never have a world war.
Yeah, it's that quote that I remember. I can't remember who said it, but it's like, war is old men sending young men to die, pretty much. That's all it is. Like a bunch of old people sitting in a war room somewhere around a table and deciding the fate of thousands of young guys with so much potential, so much life to live. Like, that's so sad. And that's, and then I read something the other day that said, like heaps of Russian troops are calling their partners or whatever and saying
from Ukraine?
Yeah, and saying we want to go home, we don't want to fight this anymore, like this is silly.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think the days of soldiers just doing whatever they're told is slowly, evaporating. I think soldiers
Because they're realizing what war is really about.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure if you asked every Russian out there about the war, they'll tell you that they're against it, and so are the Ukrainians. And I've seen a lot of I've been on TikTok, a lot of these war videos.
You get your information from TikTok.
No, but when I am on TikTok, on the rare occasion that I am on TikTok, the very rare occasion, it's 4 hours before bedtime.
4?
I've just seen these numerous videos of families in Ukraine, Russian people in Ukraine calling their families.
Oh, you can't get over the 4 hours before bed.
It gets to a stage where I get these TikTok videos that says, it's bedtime now, switch off your phone and go to bed.
When you said you're going to do research for this podcast, I didn't think your research involved 4 hours of TikTok videos.
I didn't do any research on this podcast today, to be clear. I've got my laptop right here in front of me, Googling things as I go. Okay, I didn't have time to do it. Was a long day for me, okay, David?
Yeah, I know your long day.
But on TikTok, I've seen a lot of sentimental videos, Russian soldiers in Ukraine calling their partners back in Russia, talking to their family, telling them that they just want to come home, but they just can't do it right now. Everyone is against this war. Everyone.
Well, I don't know that.
Well, I will tell you, the people that are battling, the people that are out on field, they're all against that war.
No, they're not.
No one's there like, shit, we're doing this.
Well, Rita, there's white supremacists in America that actually are racist and hate black people and Asian people. So I'm sure there's some Russians.
90%.
I'm sure there's some Russians out there that'll be like, I'm all for this war. They're the bad ones.
There would be. There's a possibility. But it's not 50-50. I can tell you that now.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't say it's 50-50.
It's definitely majority of them are against the war.
Mm.
I don't know what it's going to take for Vlad to realize that this is probably not going to have a good ending. And a lot of innocent people are going to die.
Yeah. It's always scary when one person has the keys to the red button. Right?
I really want to know what that red button's going to be about. I feel like I need to call up Vlad and ask him what that red button does.
When you talk to him, ask him, what will it take for you to press the button? What's the last straw to press the red button? The red button to launch your 50 million nukes.
He would never press the red button. I don't think the red button exists.
I
I
bet it
don't think the red
does.
buttons.
I bet it does exist. You know what I
No.
read? I read an article about their they have this, like, they're always researching advanced technologies. There's this missile that goes like 25,000 kilometers an hour. It could travel over 10,000 kilometers intercontinental ballistic some shit. I can't remember.
Missile.
Yeah, right. And it's like the equivalent. It's like it releases 20 warheads within this one missile, and each warhead is equivalent to like 17 Hiroshima atomic bombs. Dude, that is scary.
What country?
Russia.
Wasn't Ukraine, North Korea testing weapons?
Yeah, man.
They've launched missiles, a few missiles in the past few weeks.
Yeah.
They're warming up their weapons.
But think of it this way, right? That's the stuff that makes it to the news. Imagine the stuff that doesn't make it to the news.
Oh, that's a lot of horrific
Yeah.
stuff. That's not going to.
Imagine all the scary stuff that they don't tell you that they actually have. So we know about all these hardcore missiles that are like 20 times Hiroshima, but imagine they've got some crazy, crazy tech.
I don't think they'll ever use it. Their goal is not to eradicate 90% of the population.
Yeah,
or like majority of the population.
But he's a crazy man. You don't know what a crazy man's going to do.
Who's the craziest, Vlad or Kim?
Who knows? Both. Crazy as each other. You can't guess what a crazy man's going to do.
Yeah, but I don't think it's in their best interest to eradicate majority of world's population because they still need people to work for them. Yeah, they still need to be controlling people. It's not going to be fun not controlling anyone. And then what? What's next?
Yeah, but some people don't like losing. You know, if he loses...
So they're so egotistical to the point that they're willing to sacrifice the entire population just to win a battle.
Yeah, I'm sure you've dated a few of them.
I was out with one yesterday.
I'm sure there's a few egotistical people you've met in your life.
I only attract egotistical people.
Exactly. So, you know, some people don't like to lose. And if they're about to lose, that's it. They're going all out. Guns blazing.
I wouldn't mind putting... Hey, let's not talk about my dating life.
Okay, yeah, we'll say that for a different podcast.
We need to do a podcast, you and I, on dating.
I have no input on dating.
Online dating.
In
today's day.
The horrors. The horrors of
online dating.
Yeah, for sure.
I can give you a review on all the apps. Been there.
I can't wait for that one. It'll be riveting. But yeah. I feel like we have to reiterate this. We laugh a lot about what's happening today and all the crazy leaders, but you know, like, seriously, hope all the best for all the people that are affected over that part of the world. Sometimes you can become desensitized, man. We're sitting here in our, you know, nice homes or whatnot, and there's people being bombed over there. So, like, real talk, it's horrible.
It is. My hearts and prayers go out to all the people who are hurting at this time.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our 1 hour of just nonsensical chat regarding Russia and Ukraine. Hopefully you haven't become dumber by having listened to us.
Hey. Give ourselves some credit. Give us some credit.
No, I refuse to give myself.
Today.
Oh, anyway, look, Rita, I really enjoyed having you on. See, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Next time, I had fun. Yeah, next time, just don't do research on TikTok. I mean, you know,
I've never researched on TikTok. I do not get my information from TikTok. I am not my mum or dad. Okay.
Is that
the amount of times that they've come up to me like, "Oh my God, really, this dog is talking." No, mum, it's a voiceover.
This dog is talking.
I don't get my information off TikTok, okay, or any social media. I get it from the news and from Vlad and Kim themselves.
Yeah, direct line. Well, can you tell Vlad to do something, please, and just stop this maniacal?
I've been trying to convince him. It's gonna take a while, but I'll get there.
Okay, well, fantastic.
Confidence.
Appreciate you. Appreciate your time, and yeah, we'll
Thank
see
you so
everyone
much for
on the
having me.
next episode. All right, peace out.
Bye.